but
Okay.
All right, welcome into the Awesemo Odds Show and the Awesemo Betting Channel. We appreciate you hanging with us. Myself, of course, Ben Ross is steering the ship. We have Mike Awesemo producing. We'll wish you all a preemptive Happy New Year. I'm sure at some point throughout the show you'll hear that a couple of times. You're hanging with us. A couple of people already in chat mode before we get here. We only ask one thing, that you hit the thumbs up button, you subscribe, and well, it's three things in one, but it's a parlay. It's a same show parlay, Ben. That's what we ask of people, right? A same show parlay. You hit the thumbs up, you subscribe to the channel, and you leave us a lock it up somewhere in the chat. Is that pretty much as accurate as it gets here?
that's well said. And you know what? It's mutually beneficial. All those things help us out immensely, but they help you out too. No doubt about it. We want to get those locks on the board. Of course, Happy New Year, whatever, all that stuff to everybody. It's a little different. Thursday night football, not to be, but
No.
we get instead bowl season in full swing. There are games all day, every day. To me, as a college football guy, that's a pretty decent trade-off. I'd sacrifice Thursday night football for about 10 great college games.
We have a game going on right now as we speak.
The Mayo
and
Bowl.
it's not even like 3, 4, 5, 7 o'clock at night. This thing started, especially on the East Coast, it started before noon, which is more important than anything. Like, we have games in the morning. Absolutely, I'll take that trade-off for one NFL game on Thursday night.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, there's a lot of value out there. That's what we're here to do on this show. Find some value, make some bets, hopefully pick some winners. We've been doing a good job. Obviously, OddsShopper powering the show. If you haven't been over there, oddshopper.com. But again, we've got bowls later today. We've got opportunities there. It rolls into tomorrow with the playoff games, and then New Year's Day, boom. I mean, you just treated to a multitude of fantastic games.
So let's look at a couple of things, because I know that there are going to be big ones that jump out. I don't know if anybody so far on this show, at least, you, the chat, myself, Pete on Sundays. I know you guys are heavily focused on the NFL, but I don't know if anybody who either has a platform via mic or chat has gone out and publicly put money on the dogs of either of the semi games. But as you mentioned, before we can even get to that, we have a ton on today, Friday as well, leading up to the weekend. I'll tell you this, for me at least, I love Michigan State tonight. Had that already with South Carolina plus 11. Sent you that on the money line at minus 165 right now on BetMGM. I have no problem laying the 3.5 for State. I know that there's always concern when you lose a kid or two, impact player heading to the draft, but I'm way higher on Michigan State being able to survive that than I am Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so that's really the question in that game is, what do they get without Kenny Pickett, the All-American quarterback? I don't know the answer to that. I feel a lot more secure that Kenneth Walker's absence can be easily replaced rather than a quarterback. So I get where you're coming from there. That's a game with a lot of unknowns. And most of these games, that's how I've chosen to attack. Even the next one, Purdue and Tennessee. Purdue is out without their two best players for sure. And it looks like they're going to be without 3 other starters due to academics. So you're talking about 5 starters that are just not going to be there against a Tennessee team that they're missing their center. They're missing their top corner. But other than that, they're pretty intact. Josh Heupel's done a great job. The spread has ballooned up to 7.5. It's not the best number anymore, but I definitely leaned to Tennessee. I bet them throughout bowl season already. I think it's Tennessee or pass, because we can go through that game. And then we get to the big ones. And obviously we get NFL Sunday. So again, it's just games on games on games.
Is there a dog that jumped out at you? Because look, I love Tennessee, by the way. That's a team that I got burned on their season under, but it made up for a couple of other ones. That NC State one was pretty big. But is there a dog that you can go out on the limb money line? Like, are we at that point right now? You know, look, I wouldn't touch Penn State. I think, again, similar to the scenario that we talked about here with Pitt and Michigan State, I don't trust that team, especially that defense, losing a bunch of guys. Oklahoma State at just over even money isn't really a great deal on the table. Nobody on this show is going to go against you and take Iowa either with the points or the money line, because that would be insanity right there. You don't have a ton of gigantic dogs unless we start to hit the semifinals, right?
Yeah, I mean, bowl season is funny. For a friend of the show, Nate was asking about Abilene Christian, just like March Madness. You really don't see that as much with bowl games, just because most of the matchups are pretty fair, and you're not really finding these like egregious teams. And if you are, it's hard to really back them. So like, the obvious answer is Utah to me, but the spread has cratered. I have a Utah plus 7.5 ticket. That value has been sucked out. Utah is now a 4-point underdog. Ohio
Wow.
State is missing
Yep.
a bunch of guys, and I think that Utah is playing fantastic. But if we want to get into it, let's get listen, it's the last show of the year. I'm going to bring some hot
Do whatever
takes,
you want.
because once 2022, all your hot takes from the previous year are wiped away. That's a rule.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a rule that I'm instituting right now.
I love it. I'm with it.
Here's the hot take for you. Michigan is going to beat Georgia.
Thank you. Okay, that's what I wanted. Something here, because now I can move away from the points and I can just pound a dog that actually is live and has a shot to do it. They're cover machines. You'll tell the world why you like this play, but this is what I was looking for. North of 250, 260 right now on BetMGM. Thank you, Ben. Now with confidence, I can take a large dog.
Yeah, and obviously, listen, they're a dog for a reason. Georgia, I think, is upwards of the best team in the country. Obviously, Alabama showed that they're probably the best team. They humbled them, but Georgia was playing unbelievable. They have an unbelievable defense. Michigan just does what, it's a team like this that I think is very unique. Everyone, including me, has said the same thing all year. Well, if Michigan can't run the ball, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Well, the problem is for everyone else that they can run the ball. They run on everybody. And Georgia's run defense is as good as they've going to face, and probably the best run defense they will face. I still think they're going to be able to run, though. And they've shown against Ohio State and Michigan State, and really anyone that they have come up with, they will be able to move that ball. And on the other side, Georgia has shown in the one game they were in, offensively, Stetson Bennett, not great at coming back, not great at really playing a different style than just crushing teams defensively and running the ball. So if this game stays close, if Michigan can get ahead, I think they have a very real shot here. And then the other added element, we just don't know about the COVID situation. We know Georgia's missing some guys. We got reports, if you're really digging into players, that Dexton Hill for Michigan is not in Miami right now. I don't know why he's not there. Maybe it's COVID, maybe it's an injury, maybe it's something else. All in all, though, I think that Georgia is much more likely to be missing a bunch of guys than Michigan. So I think that Michigan, they know who they are. They've steamrolled. Iowa's a joke. We saw what they did to them. I think it was 42-3. 42-3. Just get them out of here. I believe you're talking upwards of 3-1. Is Michigan the favorite to win the game? No. Do I think they have better than a 3-1? Yes, absolutely I do. So if you're going to give me around plus 275, even plus 260, I think sprinkling on Michigan is absolutely the move.
So let's look at that and then have that in the ticket, right? And then start to look at this other game, because I don't think that, Cincinnati plus 400 is not something I want to take. I don't even want to take anything below 14 because I just don't trust it. But I think there are two bets that we can look at in the first half that makes sense. And it's the total and the spread, right? Specifically, pardon me. Start with the total, and it kind of factors into the spread as well in a second. But Cincinnati's defense has shown when they play top teams, that's the one thing that has been consistent. They have gone under a couple of times. I think Alabama is not going to suffer any letdown, but I think they just come off a gigantic win. There is some time off. There may be, dare I even use the R word and say, a little rust to just kind of not dust off, but just flick off, if you will. It's enough for Cincinnati's defense to come in and at least help control tempo there. The total is at 29.5 for the first half. Love going under there. And I think if you like that, you should take a long, hard look at the only time where the points make sense, and that's taking a touchdown for Cincinnati. Could easily see it being a 3 or a push and play here. It's minus 105 on BetMGM. But I'm trying to find pathways because ultimately Alabama's the better team. They're going to win this game. And I think it scares people, even myself to an extent, about not getting anything higher than 14. That's why if I could just cheat a little bit and play off that first half, +7 for Cincinnati only makes sense if you're on board with the under 29.5 first half.
Yeah, certainly those are correlated, and I get it. That's a tough game. I certainly would rather back Michigan or honestly Georgia game a lot more. Cincinnati has what I think, and I talked to Matt Kajeski, who is as sharp as they come for college football, and he does like Alabama in this game. He just thinks the running attack is just going to be too much, and I totally see where that's coming from. I do think that Cincinnati's secondary is the best secondary that Alabama will have seen. Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant are as good of corners as you are going to find. Can Cincinnati get pressure? Can Cincinnati slow the tempo? I don't know. Honestly, that's why I'm not betting this game. But if Ritter and QB for Cincinnati can keep it contained, limit the turnovers, I could see a methodical game. Ultimately, I think Alabama's talent wins out and they win the game. But I see where you're going, that maybe it's 10-7, and then you look and ultimately 27-17-ish type game where Alabama just gets it done and moves on. But I think Cincinnati will represent themselves pretty well. I know a lot of people think they don't deserve to be there.
All right. Anything else you want to clean up for bowl season here? And again, we have tons of betting resources on OddsShopper. It's 100% free. It's easy. You could sort by a ton, including college here. So, I'm looking at games today, for example. They're all sorted by different books, depending on which state you live in, where it's legal to bet. Of course, it's just so easy to go there, bookmark it, make it the first page you see when you open up whatever browser you use, and you'll know exactly where to go. Anything you want to clean up with bowl season before we get out of here and kind of focus on Sunday?
Yeah, one last thing, because again, this show, I know it may not be the most glamorous games. You'd be saying, let's talk NFL. We're going to talk NFL.
No. We want to win money from you, brother.
We want winners.
Whatever you got.
That's right. And I have to mention it. It doesn't mean it's going to win, but I don't understand two things real quick. First one, I'll get out of the way. Ole Miss is a 1-point favorite against Baylor. Matt Corral is adamant that he is going to play. And I thought there was no chance. This is a guy that has a clear NFL future. Lane Kiffin's done a great job, and Matt Corral has said he is playing. I think if he does play, I really like Ole Miss in that spot. I think they're just simply a better team. They played 9 straight weeks in the SEC without a bye. They were absolutely worn down. The defense, the offensive line, everyone was hurt. Rest Corral, 1-point spreads, sign me up. And then the last thing, what better way to end the college bowl season talk? Kentucky against Iowa. I think we all know where I'm going. I love Kentucky. They were a 1-point dog as they opened. It's up to 3. This is just a mismatch of epic proportions in my mind. Iowa is a team that has done absolutely nothing offensively all year. I know early in the year they were burning me, but I think we all saw late in the year that they really struggled to put together anything. Kentucky is a fantastic team. They've been great all year. They've been a cover machine for both of us, Eitan. I got to lay the points with the Wildcats.
Absolutely, man. Nothing's changed with the play. Nothing's changed with the lean. Absolutely love it. And Iowa has been, outside of that Iowa State game that we talked about, which seems like years ago on this very show here, Iowa has been, for both of us, the total fade, just waiting for them to be exposed, all of the cracks in the dam to just really just burst out there. So, no, I think just from a betting standpoint to a rooting standpoint, I just hate Iowa. Sorry. No offense to anybody. Their offensive line
is non-existent. They have the best center in the country. I don't know yet. He has not declared that he's opted out. He hasn't even declared for the draft, but I don't know why he'd play in this game. If they lose him, forget it. They have no quarterback. They're platooning 2 guys that are ineffective. Kentucky's got everyone intact for the most part. I really trust them. And again, we're gonna take them, and then we're gonna push it into Sunday, Week 17, NFL. There are some big time games. Bengals, Chiefs, other divisional matchups. Your boys against Washington. A lot to look at in Week 17 NFL.
If I may, sir, let me begin with a full unit, half unit play on the spread money line. See where you think about this. Build like a small little tower. Not even that, like a McMansion, maybe is a better way to put it here. I love Arizona. The one thing they've done this year is cover spreads. They're 7-1 on the road. They're dog shit at home. Nobody's going to argue otherwise. Just saw what happened last week at home. On the road, I don't even care who they're playing at this point. It's a look, I'm getting 6 for a team that has not fallen off the face of the earth. They're just kind of holding on with 2 hands, and we're just waiting for somebody to reach out and say, take my hand, and lift them up off the cliff. Dallas comes off that gigantic offensive explosion. It's prime right here for Arizona to cover that 6. So I'm putting a full unit on the 6 for the Cardinals, who just do one thing consistently, and that's cover spreads on the road for whatever reason you want to define it. And then I'm going to take them just north of 2-1 on BetMGM. And again, use the links below. You can get a promo code. You get 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum, a risk-free bet up to $1,000. So I'm taking the full unit, Ben Rasa, on the +6.5 unit on +210 for them to outright win this football game.
I mean, Arizona is another anomaly team. I tried to short them early in the year to no success. Now they look like they're completely done. But it's still a team that I think is very, very dangerous. Middle of the road defensively, and honestly, their run defense at times leaves some to be desired. But they didn't show up against Detroit. That was a disgrace. There's no excuse. Losing by 7 to the Rams and 6 to the Colts, they're not, if you're an elite team and you're at home, you should be winning these games, but I don't think they disgrace themselves. I know the Colts were missing a lot of linemen and whatnot, but I still think that Arizona maybe, the recency bias is there. We've talked about that on a couple shows on this very channel. I think in the NFL more than any other league, though, the week to week, the Chargers, they lose to the Texans. Now everyone thinks they're garbage. They could rebound and look fantastic. But we're going to talk about the Dolphins in a little bit. They're in there. So I get it. I actually want to ask you about the total in this Cardinals-Cowboys game, though. Do you have a feel? Because to me, there could be points on both sides in bunches.
Yeah, that's the thing where I feel like Arizona wins this game in a lower scoring battle. Right? Like, I feel like if I'm on the Cardinal, it's hard for me to think the Cardinals can survive a shootout. I know that they've struggled mightily at home. You mentioned how they've lost. I don't think that they can't keep up in that standpoint, but I don't trust them to ultimately win outright. Can they hang by 6? Probably. But do you understand? Like, for me, I feel like, key number aside at 51, it's 51.5 at BetMGM. I feel like for me, if I'm going Arizona +6 and I'm taking them to win this game outright, it's a lower scoring game where they're limiting Dallas's offense. And look, Dallas's defense has played exceptionally well. They've got 2 guys that are in the top 3-4 for DPOY. So I clearly recognize that they can limit some scoring as well. I don't see a shootout, Ben.
Okay. I mean, again, I think this is one as we
do
get
you?
closer. I do think that there's more shootout equity than when you're saying, for sure. It's just going to be a matter exactly of how I construct, looking at same game parlays and stuff. What exactly, how is Arizona going to keep, are they going to have to keep up, or defensively they're going to get after Dak? I just want some type of window into how exactly the game unfolds. 51.5 point total. I think it's a pretty lofty number, but at the same time, clearly there's no weather, of course, with these teams not having those issues. I like the offensive talent on both sides. I don't know. I kind of lean over. It's not on my card just yet, but when I look at the game, I got to ask you, though, what about the Eagles? That line screams, I don't know, something not right about it. They've looked great. 3.5 point favorite on the road. Washington obviously is getting, I would assume, a multitude of players back post-COVID. You worried? Let me just ask you honestly, as a fan, are you worried?
I'm not worried, because if the Eagles don't make the playoffs this year, it's not a typical Philadelphia fan season of, I need to be talked off some ledge and I'm going to bang my head against the wall and I'm going to listen to a week's worth of local radio to numb the pain, if you will. Like, this has always been about growth. And now I'll be disappointed, but from a fan standpoint, I want them to compete. And that's what concerns me is, you're right. This line doesn't make much sense. The Eagles are red hot, one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. They're the best #1 rushing offense, no matter who's in the backfield, because of Hurts. Miles Sanders being out with a broken hand is not going to move this line 1.5 points by any means. So what is it? Is it Taylor Heineke's return? And you mentioned a couple of other guys. I don't want to limit it to just that. Is that enough to all of a sudden? I think what's happened is some sharp to maybe a couple of people who have big money influence have bet and taken Washington because they've seen value. This line has dipped, as you mentioned, to 3.5. It's hard for me to think that we're not back up to 4.5 or 5. So if you like Washington because it doesn't make sense, I would wait. I know that's not the great thing to talk about Thursday, days before on Sunday, but I think you can get this back up to north of 4.5 to maybe 5. It doesn't add up at 3.5 outside of Washington wins this football game outright, or somebody's trying to create some sort of middle here.
Yeah, I mean, this is one I'd be pretty surprised to see this go. Well, maybe. I mean, what you're really defending against is it more likely to go to 3, which is you're going to lose a key half point, or is it more likely to go to 4.5? In theory, I agree with you. I'm looking at OddsShopper right now, and there are a couple of 3s popping up out there, and that is surprising to me. It really is.
Follow me though, real quick, Ben, right? Because I think you're right. I don't think we've necessarily hit the bottom before it goes back up. At 3, don't you think somebody's going to smash the shit out of the Eagles to the point where it's not going to cross through 3? So at this point, I think you're right. We either stay at 3 for the next 3 days, or it works itself back up 3.5, 4, maybe 4.5, as I mentioned, back up to kick, because more money keeps coming in on Washington, or pardon me, Philadelphia at that point, to move it back up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be massive resistance at 3. There's no doubt about that. I mean, unless there's news. Obviously, you can't control news. If something happens, then it could go anywhere, but I'm not worried about that. I think right now it's more of a wait and see. It's only Thursday. Keep an eye on it. But I do want to bring up a game that I know that you like, and I'm kind of with you, and it's the big game. One of the biggest, Cincinnati and the Chiefs. Obviously, this is a game with both teams have serious. I mean, it's crazy to say this, but it's true. Both of these teams absolutely think they can win the whole thing. Cincinnati has shown that, but they're still in a battle in the North. They're at home. This would be they made maybe one of the bigger statements early in the year when they destroyed Baltimore the first time. This would be as big of a statement win as I think Cincinnati's had in a long time. Do you think they can win? And how do you think the game falls in terms of total?
I don't want to take a side. Okay. 5 is a tough number right now, where I just don't think I get enough for Cincinnati. And it leaves, we've talked about this, credit you've brought this up, how the key numbers have been blurred a little bit with missed extra point, 2-point conversions. I don't think either side gives me a great return right now, minus 110, or really the value at 5. What I do love, and we talked about this morning on the breakfast menu of the OddsShopper show here, you can get everything live, right? Where we did our parlay, and this was one of the legs of it, over 51, absolutely over 51. This is where I think you can get some nice maneuverability here on the game. And that's both teams throw the football really well. Neither team, and this is where I think the public misconception is going to apply to Kansas City, neither team really defends the pass from a passing yardage standpoint really well. They're both in the back end, bottom third tier of the league. There's going to be a lot of throwing. Kansas City and Cincinnati, they're going to throw the football. That's going to really convert into scoring drives, or opportunities at least. So even if you settle for a field goal here or there, I think those are going to convert to points as opposed to a turnover or a stalled drive at like the 45. Give me the over, man. I love this play. I love the over 51. I think a lot of people in the public are going to go under this because of how well Kansas City's defense has played, et cetera. No, this is an over 51. It's not too big for me by any means.
Yeah, listen, I totally get it. Both teams have shown, I mean, the ridiculous embarrassment of riches offensively for both of these teams obviously keeps them firmly in that discussion. So I'm not going to push back on that. I always say anytime you're in a game like this and it's December, just keep an eye on the weather. I think everything's going to be fine, but it is in Cincinnati. It's not like they're not above having some nasty weather that could impact the total, but I think we're pretty clear right now in that regard. Yep. But I know we only got a couple minutes left, and we're going to bounce on that here and obviously get on to what's going to be a great 2022, not just for us, but we hope for you guys in chat, of course. A lot of fun things coming, and it's been awesome to get this show started. It's just the beginning. A lot of fun things here on the OddsShopper channel, but the game I've been waiting for, and I want to get into this if you don't mind, is Miami and Tennessee.
Yes, I think we're on opposite ends maybe on this.
Which is very interesting, and I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this team, because I knew, and I do this sometimes, where I actually make a bet and then I say, okay, I know I'm going to basically, it's almost like when you're at the blackjack table and you're just like, or the roulette wheel, and you say, I'm going to bet red. And if it comes up black, I'm going to just bet red. I'm going to double my bet and bet red again, knowing that if you hit either of them, you're coming out ahead. And when Miami played the Saints, I hit the Saints live, and I did that for two reasons. One, obviously I thought they were going to cover. And I also told myself if they did not, that the spread I would get on Tennessee would be worth it. And I would just kind of double down. And now we're at that spot. Miami has been very, very impressive, but here we go. 7-game win streak. Houston.
Yep.
Thursday night against Baltimore, the Jets, Carolina, the Giants, the Jets again, New Orleans with Ian Book. That might be 0 playoff teams in there.
Yeah, outside of Baltimore, is there a team with a winning record?
No, definitely not. Or, well, the Saints, but I don't count them as the Saints.
No, I don't think they finish with a winning record, right?
I mean, and that guy, listen, their offensive
line. Carolina, so probably.
It was absolutely disgraceful. Now they go to Tennessee. First of all, during that win streak, 5 of the games were at home. Now they go to Tennessee to take on a Titans team that I know at times has had some letdowns, but impressive win against San Francisco. They've been losing some games, but to better teams than I think we've seen. They still have Tannehill. Obviously, AJ Brown is an absolute machine. I think that they are the better team at 3.5. But talk to me about what you see with Miami. Is it pressure? Is it defense? Is it Waddle? How do you think they can win this game?
It's defense, but I'm willing to meet you halfway and create a 2-leg single game parlay on this game. All right. All ears.
I am very intrigued.
Let's take your 3.5 and go under 39.5. That's it. It gets us a plus 300 return.
One more time.
That's
say it.
All right. The 2-leg same, right? The 2-leg same game parlay is very simple. It's Ben Ross's minus 3.5 that he just laid out, which I'm willing to concede.
Okay.
Especially with the lack of any true talent that Miami has beat up in this win streak. Although I'm not giving up without like at least a little bit of a grip, but then I'm just going to, all right, you take it. What I do like more so than anything in this game, both defenses, especially when you look at how the Titans have played to the under, more so, I think it's 4-2 this year and last 6 at home. You also have the Dolphins, whose defense has played well enough to carry even in these games where the offenses have been terrible. So I'll go under 39.5, minus 3.5 for the Titans, and that gets us a 3-1 return at plus 300.
Yeah, that's fine. I have no problem with that at all. I don't think that I'm not saying Tennessee, they have to win this game one way. I think they can win the game a lot of ways, including the way you're talking about, where they just really limit. Miami is one of the pass-happy teams in the league. I think Tennessee can do enough there. They're not going to be able to run the ball. I mean, that's just not what Miami does in terms of a very prolific rushing attack. And Tennessee on the other side, they're kind of getting it done that way, 20-17 against San Francisco. They lost to Pittsburgh on the road, but they held them to 19 points. Not that they're great offense, but still, I think we've seen that. Then they shut out Jacksonville 20-0 at home. This is a very solid team. They've had some bad losses, no doubt, but they've also had some very, very impressive wins. So I look at Tennessee. I think they're a distinctly better team than Miami. And the thing that I'm saying, and that's the theme of my show here for my last one, recency bias in the NFL is too strong right now. Like everybody is all about Miami because of what I think are very, very meaningless wins against teams that they should be beating. I don't read a ton into that. I think the spread has been impacted a little too much by Miami's recent success.
I just see Michigan, by the way, drop to 6. It was off the board. It's dropped back down to 6. Odd Shopper is going to get it's. Isn't that insane? I don't know how long this lasts, but it's down to 6. So if you liked, oh no, I'm sorry. That was the look ahead. I apologize.
Okay. I was going to say,
erase everything I just said. It got taken off the board though on a book as soon as you gave out Michigan outright. Like 30 seconds later, I saw it get taken off the book. It was like something out of the X-Files. So take that for what it's worth, my friend. All right, let's get out of here. Let's lock it up for the final time. In 2021, I see Shelton locking up Michigan outright. Ben giving that out a little earlier. I'm already on board. So find it wherever you can get it by all means. And again, depending on where this thing pops back up, make sure you are always on Odd Shopper for everything. We have a ton of content here on the channel, on the page, island games in the NBA to same game parlays in the NFL. Ben, take it away, my friend, or I'll sneak mine in, and then you can
Please.
end on a positive note, right?
Go
All
ahead.
right, so I'm locking up. I mentioned already, locked up the. I'll have some fun with this. Mentioned already, we talked about Michigan on the money line. I told you how I love Michigan State -3.5. This is what I'm going to do. All right, it's a 2-leg parlay that gets me +376 back. Okay, now follow me. First leg, Lions +7. They've covered 10 games this year. So I don't care that they're going up against big bad Seattle. Seattle is a fraud. So I take Lions +7 at -150, -115, parlayed with the Eagles money line. But it's not this week's Eagles money line. It's the Eagles Cowboys money line, where I'm banking that there may not be enough for Dallas, and Philadelphia has everything on the line. So I got them at +155 for a +376 2-leg return. Lock it up, sir.
That is a good lock it up. That's a good way to go out. And speaking of lock it ups on our way out here, Nate, he's just going for this is how you end 2021. This is what I'm talking about. Michigan, Utah, Kentucky, Ole Miss money line parlay. That would be a massive hit. You've got 2 outright dogs there. You've got Ole Miss as a pseudo pick 'em, and Kentucky's only a 3-point favorite. You hit that.
Oh, I love this.
You're going to have a great New Year. So will I, by the way, because I bet all those teams. I like it, but you know what? I have to stick to my guns, particularly with college football. It's been an awesome year. Kentucky Wildcats have treated me great all year. There would be no reason for me to not get off them. Now, I know the spread has moved, and of course, you know, I've been saying, hey, you can follow me at Chester SDFS, and you'll see my tweet from when the bowl games opened to bet Kentucky +1. The reason is so you didn't have to bet them at -3, but still, I think this line can't be bet up enough. They're just a better team. And honestly, I couldn't think of a better way where I've railed against Iowa on the show for all year to get out of here and start what's going to be a really fun 2022.
Love it. Have a fantastic, safe, happy, healthy New Year's weekend.
Yes.
Usher in the new year with whoever you want. Have fun. And again, this is the best opportunity to be antisocial for the next 3, technically 4 days from when we're here. Ben, tell everybody one last time, we have so much content, not only on site, but coming people's way in 2022.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been just an awesome time developing OddsShopper. If you haven't been over there, it's free for the moment. You don't have to even sign up, just oddshopper.com. The tool has really been helping out a lot of people in our chat and just a lot of us pick winners and whatnot. And it gives you the values, the projections, and all of that. And then all the shows here. So again, if you want to show some support or you just enjoy the videos, just hit subscribe. Obviously, that costs you nothing. It just helps us grow the channel, grow the feed, and make these shows free and our bets free for the new year. So again, for me, for Aton, for Mike behind the glass, we appreciate
you see Kickstart, by the way, real quick?
What?
Alabama by +28.
Well,
you can't even get that. You can't even get that right now.
Alabama by just biblical beatdown. That's very possible. Definitely very possible.
Sorry, I had to throw it in before we got out.
Not a bad way to end it. But like I said, as you said, just everyone have a great holiday. Enjoy yourselves. We will be back soon enough in the new year. We can't wait. If you have any comments, suggestions, hit us up on Twitter. But we'll talk to you guys soon. Enjoy all the games.
See ya.